All right, Murph. It's good to see you, bud. I'm excited to go through with you and break down the first quarter already of the season. I'm glad we cleaned things up a little bit since the NFL draft show. Those watching at home may notice something's changed, something's different. We've improved a little. We got rid of something or someone. And take notice. If you come on and you're going to talk baloney and give a lot of wrong predictions and make mistakes, just like in the National Football League, you're going to be gone. You're not going to last long. So Murph gets the nod, joins us here tonight. Let this be a lesson for us all. Welcome, Murph.
Thank you. As always, it's always the next man up. And I'd say we shed about what, 135, 145 pounds? I don't know.
Yes.
I've been hitting the weight room hard this off season.
I'm trying.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's get rolling. The COVID effect, Murph. What effect has our current situation had so far in this NFL season?
Oh, the injuries. The injuries have been amounting. Is it due to COVID? I'm not sure, but I would think that with preparation, training camp, and whatnot, that if they had this going in, they'd be better prepared. Therefore, I think COVID's played somewhat of a factor when it comes to the injuries that we're seeing and the amount of them.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up, that they're just not prepared the right way. I kind of feel similar, not so much the injuries. Overall, though, comparing it to other leagues, I think it's had a little effect, slight effect. I mean, the season hasn't changed. We're not moving or stopping like the NBA and NHL and Major League Baseball did. We do have some fans in the stands. It is limited, but we're not like in a bubble. So
Right.
that part of it is the same. I know we've had some games postponed and rescheduled, but honestly, that's worked out for the best so far. I love the early Monday night football game. We had Tuesday night. When was the last time we had Tuesday night football?
Not in our lifetime.
No, not in our lifetime. And so those things have been good. I am worried a little bit just because as we go along, we're going to lose flexibility. Like teams have already had the buys. There's no more bye weeks. So I think the NFL is going to lose some flexibility. And I hate to say it, but so far I'm with the NFL on their decisions, like draft picks, fines, forfeitures. It's all on the table. Teams got to start taking this seriously. You miss a couple game checks and maybe they will. I'd hate to see a team season jeopardized by, just the Titans or whoever going off on their own, doing their own deal. But back to the effect it's had, I think the biggest part of the COVID effect has been offensive production that we're seeing. I mentioned the no fans or limited fans, so there's not a lot of noise at places. It's clear communication for the offense. Probably the biggest one, though, is the difference in off-season and preseason, which might be what you're talking about with injuries. But to me, by rule and by choice, teams practice differently. I know you probably watched Hard Knocks.
Yes, I did.
Different. They went weeks and weeks without being able to pad up and hit and tackle, which is huge. But meanwhile, the offense was still doing 7-on-7. They were timing things. They were running things. They were getting things on, getting on the same page. So to me, that has been a huge part of the offensive production.
Oh, absolutely. And to go back to your point with Hard Knocks, I mean, you're getting all the special teams, the defense, the offense, they're all away from each other. Therefore, like you said, the offense is able to run these 7-on-7 drills and whatnot. However, what's happening to the defense? And to go into that, I mean, that's why I believe there's been so many points on the board. The lack of defense, the lack of training, the lack of preparation. And I mean, we would assume that slowly that would get better over the season. This is only the first quarter. So we shall see. That'll be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. As a former or a classmate of ours at CS would say, they ain't been popping. Let's get a popping, as T-Bone used to say. And they just weren't popping in the preseason and practice, and now they're paying for it, I think, on the defensive side.
Absolutely. There's no pop in this first quarter. All right. I got to ask you, Joe, up until this point in the first quarter, what's the best game, the best moment, the best play what is, what have you saw? What stuck out this year to you?
We've had a lot of close games that I've watched, great comebacks and some good endings. And I've seen some good football games. Patriots Seahawks came down to that final play.
Yes.
The Bills Rams game was enjoyable. The Kansas City Baltimore game was somewhat of a letdown, honestly. But Kansas City and Las Vegas this weekend was a very enjoyable game. But I haven't been wowed by a game, Murph. I would probably say that the game of the year is still yet to be played. I don't think we saw it in this first quarter. I think I enjoyed New England, Kansas City a few weeks back the most. Belichick did his thing, as you know. I've told you.
He does.
New England's offense, if they even play slightly better, I think they win that game. They pretty much had no offense. And I'm not one for shootouts, so these back and forths don't do it for me. I much prefer a chess match, so I'm going with that game. What game have you enjoyed so far the most?
You actually alluded to it in your first point. I really enjoyed that New England Patriots going to Seattle game, and wow, how much fun was that? Every time these two teams meet, it seems like we're on for a good show. And Russell Wilson has looked every bit the MVP of this first quarter, but hey, that's why they play 4 quarters.
Yeah, and that was when New England had Cam, so that helps. You have Newton and Russell and Belichick and Carroll. I mean, it's not gonna get better than that.
No, absolutely not.
Now, we talked about the game, Murph, but as you mentioned, what about a play or a moment, like a smaller piece of the season that stood out to you so far?
Now, out of all the moments to choose from, some plays that stick out, the one that sticks out the most, on a Sunday afternoon, I'm watching this game, and I'm watching, I'm going, no, not going to happen. No way. The Falcons are blowing out the Cowboys, and, I just have it on the side TV, and little by little, Dak's got them coming. Here they come. Here they come. And you start to, sense this is going to be closer than you think. Oh, man, they're only an onside kick away. Get this kick. And then the kick goes 10 yards. The Falcons special teams players just watching it. You're allowed to come up and get the ball. What are you doing? I don't know. That just sticks out to me. That was a great finish to a, sloppy defensive game. The Falcons providing what the Falcons do the most and allowing for catastrophic leads to just disintegrate.
Yeah, that's a good pick. It's a good call. That onside kick, they've given the number since the rule change, and onside kicks are so much rarer and difficult to get. And as as I didn't watch it live like you, but I'm watching the replay, and it's like, what are they doing? Maybe it's another off-season or preseason fatigue, or they didn't cover it, or what. But wow, that was a shocker.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised. Usually, like you said, maybe with more preparation and whatnot, things like that wouldn't happen. Could cost the team a win. Wins down the line add up. Could cost them the division. Who knows? They might have snuck away with one there.
Well, it cost Dan Quinn his job. I know that.
Yeah. Yes, that it did. Mr. Quinn and the GM there, they were on their way out shortly after.
For me, I got to go to a story, Murph, my best moment so far. So it's story time with Mr. Volpe.
Okay.
The earliest I can recall watching and really being into the Browns and a Browns game, I had to go back and look it up because it's in my head, but I don't know the date. December 10th, a Saturday, 4 p.m. game at Dallas. My family's putting up the Christmas tree. The Browns are playing really well. A lot of excitement and happiness. That's probably why it sticks out in my head to me. But the Browns win that game 19-14 when I looked it up against a good Cowboys team. That Cowboys team went on to play in the NFC Championship, and they lost to San Francisco, who won the Super Bowl. But that game was the Browns' 10th win of the year. They made the playoffs that year, and it was actually the last time they had a playoff victory, which I watched that game as well. So I remember that game very well. So that sticks out to me. Anyways, I circled this year's Dallas game when the calendar and schedule came out. I said, I'm marking that game. And so a couple weeks ago, I loaded my family into the family truckster, Clark W. Griswold. And we headed home to Clyde for the game. We had a nice pasta and meatball dinner. My daughter's running around like a nut. There's a lot of excitement and happiness, and the Browns win big in Big D. And that followed up this week with a Colts win against a solid Colts team. I don't know if they're great, but they're a contender for
The
playoffs.
defense is serious, they say, and
yeah.
you guys played well against them.
Yeah, and so that was good. And I don't know what the rest of the season will bring. I don't know if it's a playoff season for the Brownies, but I enjoyed the day, and the Browns were a big part of that. So that's my best moment so far this season.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Anytime you can reminisce a Browns playoff appearance and win, hey, you got to get it in.
There's only been one that I've seen, and that was it. So that's probably why
this could be the year. This could be the year. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope. What about, Murph, biggest surprise to you so far this season? What has, shocked you? Anything?
I haven't really been surprised with too much to this point in time. I would say, not to go back and repeat myself, but the lack of defense in the league is very surprising to me. Very surprising. I feel that in today's age, with the amount of media you have, the amount of tape and film, that you would be better prepared for some of these games. But hey, the offense gets to prepare just as much. And I feel, like I said before, that we'll see a pickup in this, and the defense slowly will catch up. But outside of that, I haven't seen too many surprises. You had alluded to it earlier. I had much higher hopes in that Kansas City Chiefs-Baltimore Ravens game, that primetime game. I was very geared up for it. I was excited, and, the Chiefs put an end to that really quick, and they proved why they are a force to be reckoned with as they try to repeat as Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, with that game, real quick, it felt to me like Baltimore was caught somewhere between trying to do what the Chiefs do and we can do this too and we can go up and down the field, but also the other hand of let's run the ball, let's control the game, and they didn't do either. And so you brought that game up, so that's what stood out in my head. I was disappointed too. I hope we get a rematch, to be honest.
Oh, I would love to see a rematch because I feel the same way you do. I feel like they got away from what their calling card is. I feel like they want to run the ball down your throat. They have a defense that they believe in and they feel that can stop anybody, and they have the playmakers on that defensive side of the ball to go with it. And I feel like you said, Kansas City got off after that early Ravens drive. KC got off to a hot start, and then Baltimore was just trying to match them. And that's just not a team that you can go toe-to-toe with.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too, and more than surprised, disappointed. But these days, it's hard to be surprised by anything, isn't it? With what we've lived through, I never thought I'd see it. We're living, as one of our buddies like to say, it's bizarro world, right?
Oh, we're in a bizarro world indeed.
So anyways, as I look down the standings and some of the stats to see if anything stood out as shocking, I didn't see anything. I'm with you. I guess if you held my feet to the fire, I'd go with the Bills and Allen. I expected them to play well and to be a good team, but I don't know if I expected them to get off to the 4-0 start or the 4-1 start. So maybe the Bills. I also, as I was looking down the standings, Murph, saw San Francisco at 2-3, and they've benched their quarterback and captain.
Oh, man.
And so that, I guess, has been surprising. They've only beaten the New York teams, the 0-10 New York teams, right?
Oh, exactly.
I don't know. I think Shanahan's pretty good. They'll probably turn it around. But I guess Buffalo and San Fran are my biggest surprise. That makes this my Tommy Lucido answer, right?
I was just going to say.
Buffalo and San Fran.
Wow. The Lucido Bowl it would be. Torn between two sides.
That's good.
It would be interesting to see what flag will be flying in front of Burton Street.
Yeah.
If that day were to come.
He switches it between the 1 and the 4 o'clock games.
Oh, that's a good point. I have seen him out there. You're right. All right. To move on, Joe, I got to know, who's your first quarter MVP up to this point in the season?
MVP. Okay. Here we go. How far down the list do we have to go before we see a non-quarterback? Are
Ooh.
we answering this question, who we actually think is most valuable asset? I mean, this is always the question, right? The most valuable asset to the team, or are we just going to talk about which quarterback we like the most, like everybody on TV?
Well, since we're not like everybody on TV, I'd like to see what asset you're going to be going with.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking there's a lot of, we know the quarterbacks are playing well. We just spent 2 segments or so talking about how the offense is so much better. But to
Hmm.
me, it's kind of like, Bruce Almighty. They're praying for the lotto, and they hit the lotto, and everybody wins like $10. And so to me, it's a
Yep.
little watered down. We've got like Matt Ryan throwing it all over the place, and they still can't win. And Fitzpatrick's doing his thing. I mean, if these guys are doing it, we already know the Breezes, the top notch. We mentioned Wilson. Those guys are doing it. So to me, the position's watered down. Elsewhere on offense, I like Kamara. It's hard not to like him. He can do it all. But if we're going back to the quarterbacks doing their thing and running the league, then to me, the most valuable position is the guy who stops the quarterback, and that's the defensive end, right? And so right now, my first quarter MVP is my boy, Myles Garrett. He's been a force, Murph, a force to be reckoned with. The Browns are not a tremendous defensive team. So if they don't get pressure on the quarterback, it's probably going to be completed for a lot of yards. But so far, he has been a monster and extremely valuable to this team. He's my MVP.
Man, hey, that's hard to argue with. That's hard to argue with. And from that take, I mean, there's going to be one happy camper who's living in Ontario, New York, who has been quoted saying that Myles Garrett not only is going to be the defensive player of the year, he could very well be the MVP.
He's got money on him, so he's in.
And the gambling man he is, he's fully invested.
Yeah,
And that
but all
guy, he just
seriousness,
doesn't throw his money anywhere.
Yeah, he's the
No,
best they've
but
had. So he's my. Now you went with a quarterback, didn't you? I know you. You went with a quarterback. Be honest.
like you always said, you go with these guys who are on TV. Is the TV personality that I am? Of course, I went quarterback.
Knew it.
It's the attractive pick. Come on.
Who?
And none more than Russell Wilson himself. I mean, this guy is something else. And when I say something else, I'm going to be personal here for a second. You see the shirt I'm wearing. Obviously, you know what I've been through. If not, you've been through more. However, the Jacksonville Jaguars in that draft, in the 3rd round, pulled the trigger on a punter. A punter. Before Russell Wilson of Wisconsin was selected 3 picks later by the Seattle Seahawks. And it has come to haunt me each and every season. And those who know me best, every time his name is brought up, I am haunted that we, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Gene Smith, former GM, drafted a punter ahead of him.
Yeah.
And I just feel that he brings a whole nother level to that Seattle offense. They feel like they are never out of a game. And, they look to him as the leader, and he has them playing very well.
Yeah, can't disagree with that, Murph. Let me ask you this. There was somewhat, at least in my mind, or what I was hearing, of a tag on him that they run the ball and he's got a great defense. But that's not the case this year, right? I mean, he's leading the way. He's leading this team.
As they say, and I know it's overemphasized and oversaid these days, but you got to let Russ cook. And the only reason they've been saying that is because, like you said, he is doing everything this year. He's taking off. He's making plays. He can throw the moon ball, as they say. When you got guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can just burn people down the field to go get it. I mean, all that stems from him putting the ball in the right places. It helps to have the playmakers around it, but I feel this year that the offense is leading them a little bit more than the defense in Seattle.
Yeah, that's what I would say, the exact same thing. Now, moving on from some of the players, which coach to you has done the best job so far? Who's your coach of the year of the first quarter?
It's tough because you do have guys that do stick out. Your boy there, Mr. Stefanski. He's done a very good job, and I'm sure you could add to that. However, I'm going to go with Sean McDermott. I mean, what he's doing with the Buffalo Bills is it's tough to argue. I mean, he has them playing well. They're a serious contender. I can't wait till they take on New England, battle in the AFC East. And up till the other night, I mean, he really has everybody around these parts believing.
Yeah, Murph, I'm with you. We're doing a lot of agreeing, buddy. We're good buddies, I know. We're doing a lot of agreeing. I don't know if that's good for our little show, but I look down the standings again, and Harbaugh's team's up there. Carroll, Reed, Tomlin, Belichick. We've already know these guys are top notch, right? These are the tried and true coaches. And to me, Coach of the Year is kind of like, let's recognize someone who deserves a little more recognition. And so my pick blends in. He's the, as I like to say, the pea in the community pool. He's there. Everyone knows he's there, but no one brings him up. It's like, here he is about to have his team maybe in the playoffs again for like the third time in 4 years. Sean McDermott. I'm not saying he's a lock to win Coach of the Year. I agree with what you said about having to play New England. I think the Bills have like 5 or 6 of their toughest games still to be played. But I think he deserves a little more credit, and we should be talking about him a little more. He's above 500 in Buffalo. You know, we're talking about places like Jacksonville, Cleveland, Detroit, Buffalo. Those are tough places to win. Wins are tough to get there. And he's above 500. He's brought him to the playoffs. You know, who was the last to bring the Bills to the playoffs multiple years?
Oh, you'd have to go back probably to Marv Levy himself.
Yeah, Marv Levy. Wade Phillips might have done it. And I don't
But
know if either of those guys won Coach of the Year. You know, I would have to check to see if if a Bills coach has ever won Coach of the Year. So I agree with you. It's definitely McDermott so far that's impressed me. I will say keep an eye on my buddy Matt Rule in Carolina. They're off to
what a job he's
start.
Done. Yeah, what a job he's done with his best playmakers, they would say, on the IR.
Yeah. And do you think they can steal that division?
They very well could. I mean, there's a lot of talent in that division. We'll see. The Saints will be getting Michael Thomas back. Brady and the boys, how will they respond after his blunder, thinking it was 3rd down, it was 4th? I mean, Carolina looks tough.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on Matt Rule and the Panthers as well.
Well, now that we have our thoughts and our feelings on who we think have done the best job up to this point in the first quarter, now I have to know, who's on your hot seat? Who do you think better keep their eyes over their back just to make sure, you know, they're going to have a job?
Yeah. Well, Murph, you know me. My hot seat is never really hot. It's just like always warm. The hottest I get is like like one of those seat warmers in a car. You think you wet yourself. And we've already bid adieu to 2 coaches. We mentioned Dan Quinn. You know, that 0-5 start cost him his job, but he was over 500 with the Falcons, and they were within minutes of winning their first ever Super Bowl under Quinn. We know how that ended. And then Bill O'Brien, right? Bill O'Brien's gone. He got off to an 0-4 start. But, you know, he was consistently in the playoffs. I think 4 of the last 6 years they won your division.
Oh, the Texans, they've always been tough in that AFC South.
And so I think he deserves some credit. Plus, they were up 20. Don't forget, they were up 24-0 on the defending Super Bowl champ Chiefs last year in the playoffs. So, I know it's a "what have you done for me" league. You know, what have you done lately league? But you think either the Falcons or the Texans will be that close again in the next couple of years?
Man, judging based off what I saw last Sunday in the Jaguars-Texans game, I'm not hyping my Jaguars up by any means, but I didn't like what I see against, you know, when you used to go back and you had to cover Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins was a playmaker. Why they got rid of him, I'm not sure, but he required a cornerback. He required a safety over the top. The guy made plays, and yes, they believe, I think, that Will Fuller was going to be that for him. And Cooks did well out of the slot, but they're missing something there. They really don't scare people like they used to. some of those threats are gone. So I agree. It's weird to see them in a down year.
Yeah, and I guess O'Brien's to blame for that. I mean, he's the GM. Coaching, I don't know if I ever saw him make too many coaching blunders, but I guess if he had trouble in the locker room, if he lost the locker room, you got to go, right? So that's fine. I'm sorry for going off on one of my tangents. I like to keep coaches in place, keep them employed. So if I had to pick a guy to go right now with the hottest seat, it's Adam Gase of the New York Jets. I mean, he's 0-5. Yeah.
Who do you mean?
He's 0-5. Don't. He's like 7. I wrote it down here. 7-14 overall. This is his second chance as a head coach. He appears to be a total psychopath. So he's my pick. What about you, Murph? Who's your hottest seat?
Oh, he is a sociopath indeed. And you said it best. He's on his second gig, back to back. And I want to know what the Jets were thinking. Did he impress them that much in Miami that we got to have this guy? Do we believe in him that much?
He might have someone hostage.
Man, he very well could be. And it might be somebody along the lines of Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Adams. They had to get going while the getting was good.
They are. They're fleeing. They're fleeing. Man. Everybody's fleeing that place.
They're jumping ship.
Yeah,
he definitely has the hottest seat, I believe, in the NFL. I definitely would have said Bill O'Brien just because of the way things were going for him. And like you said, though, you brought up a great point. You said it was more to do with his moves as a general manager than it was coaching. Yeah. Seeing him twice a year and then watching him in the playoffs, I also believe he was a solid coach. I didn't see too many blunders on his end. So that I enjoy that he's gone. However, Romeo stepped in. He's proven himself before, and we'll see how he does. But trying to think outside of Mr. Gase, there other seats that are pretty hot. I could stay close to home. Mr. Marone, that leash is getting kind of tight, and I truly feel that they didn't give him much to work with this year. It's tough, but some injuries there. I don't believe Mr. Marone's going to be there too much longer if he doesn't get these guys playing a little bit harder and putting some wins on the board.
Yeah, it might be one of those let them finish out the season and then we'll start over. You think they might do it mid-year?
I do believe they'll let him finish the season. I think that the players have played hard for him. He hasn't lost the locker room, I don't believe at all. And they rally behind him. They got to fix up some stuff. They're very leaky on the defensive side of the ball. But by watching them, I don't believe that he's lost the locker room at all at this point. That would be the time I would say that you kind of got to cut ties and try to liven up the group. But I do believe that his seat warmers are on. His pants might be a little wet, and we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah, we will.
All right, Joe. The best offense, best D. Who has had the best offense in the league, in your opinion, at this point?
This is supposed to be the easy question, right? We both say, duh, it's Kansas City, and then we kind of move on. But we saw a little crack in the foundation this week. To me, the Kansas City Chiefs are like that house on the market. Looks great. Someone famous lived there. High ceilings and crown mold that you're walking through and you're just wowed. Then you have the inspection. It's like, well, there's foundational issues. It's in a flood zone. It's an old Indian
burial ground.
Site, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind, Leah. Get in the car. We're out of here. I mean, there's no doubt they can move the ball up and down the field. They're throwing it all over with, Reed dialing it up and Mahomes doing doing things we've never seen, to be honest. But can they run the ball when they need to? When a team is forcing them to run the ball, can they get the job done on, I guess it's the offensive question, but I don't know if they can run the ball when they need to. But then again, I look around the league and I don't know if I see better on offense just because of Reed and Mahomes. So I guess I'm still going to go with Kansas City. They can score, and until someone else proves themselves better, that's who I'm going with. What about you?
Hard to argue with that. I mean, Kansas City is definitely they woed everybody last year, and Andy Reid is notorious for great offenses. And I thought you're right. They surprised me though because they did come out and they ran the ball with their rookie there, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as we've been known, as they drilled into our head, Helaire. But they came out firing against the Texans there that first game, and they're running the ball, took the Texans by surprise. But you're right, they've gotten away from that, and I'm just not sure why.
Yeah,
truthfully.
it's something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. But the best offense I believe that I've been watching this year comes out of the NFC. It's going to take a little bit of a hit now that the quarterback, who I thought he was on his way to quite a nice season and quite a big payday this offseason, the Dallas Cowboys offense is something else. They got injuries across the front line, and they were still putting up points. I mean, unfortunately for them, it was, can we outscore you? Because they weren't getting any help on the defensive side of the ball. But as you alluded to, this is an offensive question. I felt that they were very well balanced. They could hit you with the run, which I felt like they got away from a lot. But I felt that if they needed to go back and get yards, they were able to run the ball efficiently with Zeke. And I thought Dak Prescott was playing very well. Very well.
I totally agree, Murph. I did get a chance, as I mentioned, to watch the Cowboys up close and really focus in on them, and I was very impressed. As bad as their defense was, that's how good their offense was. Elliott and Dak are both tremendous. They may be the best combination in the league at that position. I was really, really impressed with Dak's throws. He threaded the needle so many times. He also put touch on the ball on his passes. So I can't argue with that. Now he's gone, though. And so that could have been your first quarter pick, but it definitely, I would be surprised if they're still the best offense next time we get together to do this.
I'm very interested to see where they go out because, I mean, the Red Rifle's coming.
No.
A Red Rifle. I mean, I guess you'd rather be the Red Rifle than the Red Rocket, but he's got weapons. He's got weapons. Let's see what he can do. I mean, there's a lot of Cowboys fans out there on their knees praying to the football gods that they could sustain. Because, I mean, could 5-11 win this division? Could they?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
Oh, man, it's not far off.
Oh, gosh. All right, Murph, what about defense? Defense! And you can't say nobody. I know we've talked about how bad it is. You can't say nobody. Who has the best defense right now?
Well, statistically, they've thrown out there that the Indianapolis Colts have great defense. But from what I've seen so far this year, and we both can talk on this because both of our teams have played them. I mean, Jacksonville was one of their lone losses before they traveled to meet up with the Brownies. And I mean, they're tough up front. Their big free agent signing, Buckner, has been playing well for them. They had solid linebacker play out of their second-year linebacker, Leonard, there. And some of the young guys in the secondary are stepping up for them. But, man, just something about seeing the eye test, like, it's just not there for me. Agreed. I'm not sure. I know this team that I'm going to say has a hell of a defense. It's easy to say. The Ravens. They're tough up front. They're young at that linebacker position. Patrick Queen out of LSU. He just got a defensive touchdown last week. He's starting to kind of get the scheme down. They got some press corners. They got some good safeties. I would have to say the Ravens up to this point, they got a strong defense. And if I had to give them the blue ribbon, they would get top defense in the first quarter for me.
Yeah. Well, when I first thought about this, Baltimore popped into my head. They did lay that egg against Kansas City, in my opinion.
That was tough.
We both mentioned that. And I wasn't impressed by the Colts overall on defense. They did stop the Browns' run game for the most part, except for when they needed to at the end of the game. But they didn't. So honestly, I'm going to go back to the best game selection that I mentioned in New England and Kansas City, and how Belichick handled Mahomes and the Kansas City offense, his strategy. I know I've told you this, and after the loss to the Raiders, everybody is talking about it, but Belichick gave us the blueprint to beat these guys. A lot of rushing 3, dropping 8, spy the quarterback, throw in occasional pressure, force them to run the ball. It's going to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands for one. Make them drive the field. Can they string 10, 12 plays together? No big plays. We don't want to see Mahomes running down the field after, Hill's caught it, whoever. And the more plays they have to run, the less they're able to, get momentum, I think, and increases their chance of turning it over. Kansas City, as I just said, is at their best when they're running up and down. I think Gruden should be sending old Bill a Christmas card for that. I saw a lot, I watched that game and I saw the Raiders do a lot of that. And I'm not taking anything away from the Raiders. They executed, on both sides of the ball. And one thing that stood out, I heard Max Crosby, their defensive end, after the game talk about, he basically said they were deliberately repetitive in their coverages and pressures in the first half so that they could catch Kansas City off guard in the second half. Now, we'd have to go back and watch. I wasn't able to pick it.
Oh, wow.
But it's kind of interesting, that idea of like baiting them into, this is what we're always going to do, this is what we're always going to do, and in the second half throwing different things at them as far as pressures and coverages. I love that kind of stuff. I mentioned the chess match earlier that I like to watch, and if they really did that, I think it's something to keep, another thing to keep our eye on, as the season rolls along.
I couldn't agree with you more. I can remember being in talks with you the week of Kansas City and New England, and you had mentioned you were really looking forward to seeing how Coach Belichick, and how he was going to game plan for Mr. Mahomes. And he did a hell of a job, as you alluded to. He drew up the blueprint. The Raiders were able to execute that. And a healthy Patriots team, they could have got a win that night just as easily. You don't want to blame injuries or anything like that. You want to win with the team you have on the field. But, man, is there a better defensive mind in the game?
No, and that's why they're my best defense. I guess Baltimore, you mentioned Baltimore too, and they could, and if we talk about this next quarter, they could be there. But right now, I'm counting on Belichick to get it done with whoever he's got out there.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that.
Okay, Murph, back to teams. Which team that's got a losing record right now in the standings isn't done yet, can still make a run? I know you mentioned the NFC East up for grabs, but which team, has that losing record but can still make a run and be in the hunt?
I'm sticking right to that NFC East, and I'm pounding the Cowboys. The record isn't there, but I gotta believe that with the talent that surrounds that team, they're getting a couple guys back on the defensive side of the ball. Randy Gregory, Van Der Esch is coming back from his broken collarbone here in a week or two. They're going to try to string some things together on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe go out and sign a veteran. I don't know. But I do believe that the Cowboys, with a losing record and behind the red rifle, have enough weapons on offense, a strong enough run game, that they'll get the job done in the NFC East. And that's a team with that amount of talent that I wouldn't want to play in that wild card division or wild card game, that one game that just you really got to worry about to beat them. They got a lot of ththings out there that can beat you.
Yeah, honestly, it's 50-50, isn't it, though? It's them or the Eagles, so you give yourself a 50-50 chance.
The Eagles on the offensive side of the ball are banged up. Once they get those guys back in place, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. For me, it's Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Houston and those Texans, Murph, they're 1-0 since Romeo came aboard. I know you weren't impressed, but I can see them winning this division. Now, hear me out. Tennessee gets the boot. You're done. You keep breaking rules. You keep getting COVID.
Oh!
Team's got it. You're gone. Who's left? The Colts and the Jags? The Texans can win the division, Murph.
Wow, bold prediction.
Yeah. I
Oh,
also like. I think we should talk about what Miami's doing. I
oh
mean,
my goodness, the young guys are playing. Fitzpatrick's being Fitzpatrick, or should we say Fitzmagic? I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if he's got it trademarked. I know there's another Fitzpatrick that has it there in Pittsburgh who's got a trademark, but yeah, Miami's playing hard for that coach Flores, right?
yeah, he's got it going. I think he's one of Belichick's guys, and I don't know. They've been impressed. You know, I've seen them a couple times, and they were impressive against your Jags on Thursday night.
Yes, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
They were very impressive. They ran the ball. Uh, Although the Jags defensive secondary is very leaky, Fitzpatrick looked great. He had those wide receivers looking like they're all pros, but they come back and they do it a few weeks later in San Fran.
yeah, yeah. I know it'll be interesting to see with the expanded playoffs this year and COVID what ends up, how it all shakes out.
No, good question. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, I want to know which team with a winning record right now do you think's a phony?
Now here is the easy one. It's
And you know what it's like to call somebody a phony. That Michael Jordan, he's so phony. Come on now.
That's right. This one's easy, Murph. Don't even worry about it. I'll just answer. We don't need two opinions because this is the only answer. It's the Bears. Chicago at 4-1. Are you kidding me? The Bears are a downfall waiting to happen. Murph, do you see this team finishing with a winning record? I mean, I have them below 500 in the next couple of weeks. That by the time they get to their bye, I think they'll have lost everything and be below 500. So sell on this team, Murph. Bet against them every week, and you can thank me later. Are you with me on the Bears? As another one of our CS alumni says, you're either with me or you're against me.
Oh, and in this case, I'm with you. 100%. 100%. The defense can only carry you so much, and even they can get leaky on the back end a little bit. And yeah, they don't know what they want to do there in Chicago, and I'm surprised with the amount of success they've had already. I think Bears fans are surprised to a certain extent. No.
The Bears.
To move on from there. All right, we got worst team, best team. All right, Joe, I got to know, who's the stinker? The worst team in the league right now?
There's three. Is there three winless teams? I know the Giants and the Jets and Washington.
No, Washington got a win.
Got a win.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Cincinnati got a tie. So we're left with just Atlanta. Atlanta hasn't won.
Yes.
So we got three. Right. We got three winless teams. The Giants have put up a couple fights when I've tuned in. You know, they're always on TV. Got to watch the Giants every weekend, or else what? But they
Giants and the Jets.
And Atlanta seem to be fighting. I don't know if they'll continue that without Dan Quinn, but they were putting up fights. You mentioned the close game with Dallas, and they had one with Minnesota. Was it? They've had a couple close.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Games. So it's got to be the Jets. They are the worst. Now, please, let's not discuss the Jets anymore. Please don't tell Adam Gase I said his team's the worst. He'll hunt me down. It's the Jets for you too, right?
Once again, unanimously, the Jets and Adam Gase.
Yes. See,
we're just when you think it can't get any worse, you get rid of your best offensive weapon.
We're good, Murph. We're on the same page. We don't need someone else to come in and start to poke at us. We've got all the problems figured out.
At least we
the
like
Jets
to
are
think.
our worst team.
At least you like to think. It is, to quote a favorite movie of mine, Major League, when manager Lou goes up to Parkman and goes to suspend him, and he says that your big gun is leaving town. I mean, that's what Bell. First it was Adams, he wanted out. Now Bell. What's going on there? Like, I don't know. But like you said, that's for another day. Yeah, because there's so much we could expand upon.
Yeah, we don't need to be talking about the Jets. What about the other end of that spectrum? Who's the top dog? Who's the best team right now in the National Football League? That's my Jaworski impression. Where's Jaws? Is he still around? He used to do the films.
we got to send somebody out. We got to get a Jaws update because you're right. It's been far too long since we've seen Jaws. He might be in Philly somewhere trying to blend in.
He might be playing quarterback for Philly.
Just may. Up to this point, the best team that I've seen, I have to go back to them. I really like the Seattle Seahawks. I like what they're doing. I think they're very well balanced on all three levels, special teams included. The quarterback position, I believe, is as good as it gets there. And DK Metcalf is an emerging young star who's shown that you need a safety over the top or he will burn you. I mean, Lockett runs the intermediate routes, and Carson just bangs and bangs. And that defense always plays tough.
Yep.
They do.
Yeah.
I think that Seattle is, if not one of the best teams that I've seen up until this first quarter of the season. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can't argue with that. This one's tough for me. I've just spent several minutes pointing out Kansas City's flaws and saying they got a crack in the foundation and all this. And then my best defensive team, the Patriots, are banged up on offense, really. So to me, I don't know if there's a great team. I think there's like 8 or so really solid teams, Seattle being one of them. But nobody really stands out to me right now. So I'll go with Kansas City, I guess, until they're defeated. They're the defending champions, and that'll be who I go with out of this first quarter.
Absolutely. Hard to argue with that until you dethrone them.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the Raiders, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens next time they meet the Raiders.
Absolutely.
Okay, Murph, next up, your biggest takeaway. What's the thing you're taking away from the first quarter so far?
My biggest takeaway from the first quarter so far, it's a tough one. I'm going to have to think about this one for a second.
Yeah, we talked about the offense and defense. You kind of mentioned,
Yeah, I didn't want to keep alluding to that.
Yeah, I know, but has it not been the biggest story? I mean, we're seeing high scores. I think we're on pace to have the highest scoring season ever.
No, yeah, that is my biggest takeaway. I didn't want to keep bringing it up. The biggest takeaway so far is the high scoring games that we had. And I mean, if you've been in the overs club, you've been a very happy camper in this first quarter of the season. And I mean, I'm very interested to see if it keeps up. I mean, it's hard to believe that it won't at this point. But just the amount of high-scoring games. It's fun to watch, although I do like the occasional 6-3 game.
Yep.
It's fun when good defenses can get together, and it becomes a chess, not checkers game. But, yeah, the amount of high scores in the league up to this point, it's been my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's the story. I guess injury, you also brought up injuries. That could be brought up too.
Yeah.
But to me, honestly, we're fans. That's why we're doing this right here, giving our thoughts and getting together and talking about it. And it's hard for me not to take away how enjoyable the Cleveland Browns have been to watch. It's fun to watch a talented and disciplined and a balanced football team. And I have to say that's a rare for me, and it's been fun. This Stefanski has really impressed me. They have problems to address, Murph. I'm not trying to say, oh, yeah, jump on board.
Everybody does. I mean.
So after the first 5 games, I'm walking away impressed by my Brownies, Murph. That's my biggest takeaway, how impressed I've been by them.
Oh, it's hard not to be. I mean, I feel like they're starting to live up to that talent that they have. And, I mean, that's got to be a great feeling.
It is.
I once had that feeling.
I hope it lasts.
Absolutely. All right, Joey. You got to give me a prediction for the next quarter. What can we expect to see?
I guess you could count my Bears. I said they're going to lose like 5 in a row as a pretty solid prediction, but I can give you another. What coaches? Maybe what about no coaches get fired this next quarter? Things, we got rid of those 2. Something strange is going on, and with that team we mentioned, and we're not going to mention anymore. But these owners, I think, should look around and see who's doing well. Harbaugh, Belichick, Carroll, Reed. Consistency is valuable. Hire the right guy. Give him at least 3 years. I don't know. So I think that's my take. No one gets fired by the midway point of the year. No one else. Everybody else keeps their job. What about you, Murph? Give us something that'll shock us.
I'm going against what you just said. He's gone in New York. In this next quarter, they're going to realize that you let the wrong guys go. They really did. Jamal Adams is a cornerstone. You don't let a guy like that walk out of your building. I'd much rather see Gase's skinny ass walk out of the building than an all-pro safety. And yes, he's got a big personality, but used in the right way, Le'Veon Bell. You just don't let a guy like that go. And at that point in time, it was so toxic that they had to release him. And speaking from experience, we had a guy like that, Leonard Fournette. And I mean, who knows? The Jets may surprise me, and that may be a tipping point, and they got the bad aura out of the locker room. I'm just not sold on that. I think the bad aura stems from the guy with the stare down that nobody wants to see. But that's my big prediction. I think he's gone, and the Jets are yet again left just in shambles, wondering what they're going to be doing. Are they going to hold on to their quarterback? Are they going to tank for Trevor? I mean, we'll see. The next quarter is going to show us a lot, and I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah. Well, we got a disagreement finally. I say no one's going to get fired, and you say Gase will be gone. So that's something to mark down and check, and we can maybe start with that as a hot take. I guess we are giving people a hot take. All we're talking about is the Jets. They're going to think we're doing it for the New York ratings or something.
I mean, you said it earlier. There's only so much New York football that can be crammed on our television on a Sunday afternoon if you're not fortunate enough to be able to have the out-of-market games. So you see a lot, you see a lot of, plugs for TV. But you see a lot of Giants and Jets football and Buffalo. But at least Buffalo's fun to watch this year. Yep. As you said before, the Giants are fighting. They got dealt a tough break with their star player Saquon going down early, but they're fighting.
Yeah, they are.
They're fighting, and it'll be interesting to see how Joe Judge gets them guys going and how they respond this next quarter, because I do believe they're good enough to win some ball games. But, man, if I didn't see another Jets game this year, I wouldn't be disappointed.
I agree. All right, Murph, we'll end with this then. And let's hope the Jets don't get brought up. But a look ahead. What are you most looking forward to in the second quarter, the next 4 weeks?
Well, outside of not seeing any more Jets game, I am very much looking forward to seeing how the defenses adapt to these high-scoring games. I really feel that they're gonna. There's a couple different matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm hoping that my Jaguars are either going to get back on track. If they're not, I'd like to see where they're going to go from here. But, I mean, I want to see how Dallas responds without Dak. I myself, a few years ago, was guilty of saying Dak was, as you would say, fool's gold there in Dallas. I believe that anybody could come into this system and have success. At the time, I said Blake Bortles could play in Dallas and have success. I mean, come on. With that offensive line, the run game, and the weapons around him. But over the last couple of years, I've become quite the Dak believer, and it was tough to see him get carted off the field. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they rebound. I feel like they're going to want to win for that guy, and I think Dalton, he has the tools to be able to get it done there in Dallas, at least get to a division title, possibly.
Well, we're going to find out to see if anybody can come in and see if Dalton can get it done. That's for sure. That'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah. How about yourself? What are you looking forward the most in the second quarter?
For me, it's just watching more football and kind of finding out who's for real and who is not. If the Bears, like I predicted, are not, and if, like you talked about, can Dallas pull it together? The next time we come together, Murph, will be that halfway point, and I think some teams will be really gearing up and in the middle of it, and other teams will be thinking about the draft and not so in tune to this schedule. We talked about coaches could be gone and canned, and we could have a couple more big injuries. That's just a part of it. We might even see the defense catch up to the offense, as you mentioned. But overall, I'm just looking forward to football being played and not canceled. I'll be happy. I'm not looking forward to the Browns being postponed or moved or switched. I want to see them play. I want to see them continue to play well. And I want to see them beat the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. That's what I'm most looking forward to, Murph.
I'm telling you right now, that's a must-see game this Sunday, and that will be on my TV that afternoon. I can't wait. That will be a really good game, and I'm looking forward to it. Just a quick plug I want to get in there. I do believe that within this next quarter, the Green Bay Packers, it's hard to believe we didn't bring up the Green Bay Packers once in this discussion. However, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to have a stranglehold on that NFC North starting with the second quarter and moving forward into the deeper months of the season.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about the other top teams in the NFC besides Seattle, and Green Bay's worth mentioning as a nice plug there because we're going to have to keep our eyes on them as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, Murph. Thanks. That was fun. And, hey, let's do it again in a couple weeks, bud.
Can't wait.